And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for watching and continuing to watch. I'm Kevin Boris, and the 9 Years podcast. You're watching, whether you meant to watch or not, the 2018 Don's Trust elections candidates interviews. And I've been joined by Luke Mackenzie. Hi, Luke.
Hello. How you doing?
We're good. It's been a long day, but it's been a worthwhile, entertaining one so far.
It's been really good.
Well, firstly, thank you for standing. Thank you for wanting to be part of the board. Nick Draper has more time on his hands than I do, clearly, because what Nick has done is come up with amusing anagrams of everybody's names.
Indeed.
Who's standing. So you, Luke Mackenzie, are Eek in Zealmuck. I would say that's the worst one so far, because there was one good one, Anna Kingsley, who is a psychoanalyst by trade. Her anagram was analysing Ken, which is fantastic, isn't it?
There we go.
So would Eek in Zealmuck would only work if you were like a pig farmer. So what do you actually do for a job, Luke?
So I'm a building society manager. So I've worked for Skipton Building Society for the last 12 years. And have managed the Woking branch predominantly for the last 10 years.
So nothing to do with pig farming or
Nothing,
indeed
no,
zeal?
not pig farming, although I did once upon a time work in a call centre where we recruited for industries, and one of the questions was, what job do you do? And there was a chicken chaser and a chicken sexer.
Really?
And that's it, but pig farmer
was that the
wasn't
same
on there,
job?
so
Was that one person?
one person.
They
Yeah,
chased them and then sexed them?
Indeed.
Right.
So there we go.
Extraordinary. Oh, that's so this is TV gold, isn't it? Really, you would never get this at any other football club, would you? I said, if you didn't see the earlier one, I was discussing earlier that we are clearly the most middle-class fan base. There was a discussion last night about last night's game, in which it ended up people arguing in Latin, and I thought that was fantastic. It just kind of shows where we're at, doesn't it? So we obviously are showing no preference for candidates. All 11 are doing a great job. But Luke, you and I, we embraced. Do you remember we were? I think we were both crying after we got promoted to the Football League.
Yep.
The first person I saw after the penalty shootout win was Luke, and you were crying, hugging. It wasn't just me. You were hugging, and you started me off, and I'm not a crying person. And then I looked around, and everyone around us was also crying. It was one of those extraordinary things.
It's been quite an emotional journey.
Yes. Well, last night many wet faces last night, but not through the quality of football due to the weather. So it is worth pointing out, though, we've got terrible weather outside.
Yep.
Sadly, the terrible weather has come inside also. So if we lose power, we apologise, but there is water pouring in.
Indeed, there is leaks galore.
Pouring in through the roof by the players' tunnel, by the players' entrance. So if we are washed away, viewers, you know what's happened anyway. So let's get on with the proper stuff. So, a building society manager for Skipton. How long have you been a Wimbledon supporter?
28 years, 30 years, around there. So I was one of the unlucky ones that saw us prior to the move to Selhurst, but actually didn't realistically start supporting us till the first season at Selhurst. So I kind of don't have that plough lane knowledge, other than the sort of couple of fleeting glances at it. So yeah, that's still a long time.
So what made you
friends
come
at
along?
Friends at school. So first game I ever went to was Arsenal Wimbledon at Highbury. My dad was an Arsenal fan, took me along.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 1987.
3-0 defeat? No, 3-1 defeat.
3-1.
Yeah.
3-1. January the 1st. So saw that, and then got a few mates at school, as you do when we joined secondary school, started going along, and said, why don't you come down, and the rest was history.
Carlton Fairweather scored our goal, I think.
Possibly. There was,
North Bank end,
I remember
think,
more the opposition goal, which was when they ended up, I think they ran into each other, the two Wimbledon player and goalkeeper.
You're right. Yes, you're quite right.
So,
Best and Clive, good job.
Yeah,
Charlie
yeah.
Nicholas scored. That was a horrible game. Remember that? Anyway, so thanks for that memory. So where do you watch home games from now?
I now sit in the John Green stand, so I'm in the kids section, so right down the front, very front row, because I started bringing my 3.5-year-old son this year, so I got him a season ticket. So prior to that, I'd just worked in the middle, on the middle turnstile, for want of a better term, and just normally sort of hung around there.
Because I was going to say that if you're sitting at the front with a child, chance you're being hit in the face by a loose shot, but that's not going to happen. Sorry, if anyone's watching, it's not being offensive, I'm just joking about the amount of shots we have. So, you've been on the Don's Trust board previously.
Yes.
when was that? What were your dates? When were you
Oh, good
to?
question.
And how was the role that you want to be elected to? How has that changed since you've left?
Okay, very differently. I think I was on the initial steering board. So as part of the Wizard Committee, when we first started, I went to the Supporters Direct meeting. With 4 of us were there, and they talked about setting up a trust, and hence we set up the trust. I was then on the steering board and got elected to one of the first couple of boards we had at the football club. I think it's very different now, the role. I think back then we were a bunch of dreamers. I think we look at where we are now and just go, wow, actually let's tip our hat to all the hard work and energy that everybody's put into this. Because we've gone on a massive journey. I suspect the role now is a bit more structured, but I think part of the reason for standing now is I think we've lost, and there's a somewhat disconnect now between the fan base, the trust board, the football club board, and hence myself putting myself forward.
So you've neatly moved on to my next question.
Good segue.
Thank you, Luke. That's perfect. In your manifesto, you say that you want to challenge the status quo.
Yes.
So who do you see as the status quo, and how can you challenge it? We're not talking about the popular, now defunct rock band.
Indeed. I think we all have a part to play. So I think the relationship between the fans who come on a match day, the Dons Trust board members, the Dons Trust members, the Dons Trust board and the football club, the status quo is everything. Predominantly, I think a lot of that is fed down the line. So it feels to me as if we're a organisation where we're told what to do, we're told what to expect, how to behave. And actually, I want the membership to challenge that and start fighting back. And I want the membership to be like we were in the early days when we were just all a bit heady and everybody could just approach the club with ideas and say, look, I think this would be great, let's run with it. And it feels to me as if we've lost some of that.
Why?
Good question.
I should stand up. But what? It wasn't flippant. Why?
No, I think that's a fair question, and I don't know. I think there's been a lot of, as we've gone up, we've got more professional, and that's obviously going to be a byproduct of the situation, the league we're in, etc. I think that disconnect, Plough Lane, has led us to this thing where the football club board is so focused on Plough Lane, and rightly so. What a fantastic piece of delivery to actually get us that stadium. But I think in that way, that relationship between the fans and the football club board has dissipated. We've got a lot of new fans now, and they're not often talked about. If you're under 20, it's highly likely you probably don't remember anything other than Kings Meadow.
Yep.
If you're under 35, 40 maybe, you're probably not going to remember anything other than
keep going. Yep.
Selhurst and here. And that brings a big challenge, because actually we're expecting people to buy into what we did and this crazy idea we had when we started the football club and what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go. And actually I think we need to engage these new people who, for them, Kings Meadow's the only place they've known.
Yeah. So again, this is what's interesting about these elections. One of the people standing for the board has been a fan for less than 3 years.
Yep.
One of the people standing for the board has been a fan for 63 years.
Yep. And
they're both representative of the fan base. It's great that people from both sides, people in the middle and people of your age, I don't know how you are, Luke, but yeah, you haven't got to say.
Early 40s.
Yes, good one, thank you. Yes, I'm very, very late 40s, in fact 40-11. But you're representative of everyone. Is your role as a Dons Trust board member is to represent the fans. 100%. It's not just representing people in their 40s who manage building society. You're representing 15-year-old kids and 80-year-old women. There's no difference. So do you see that as part of the role, that you're like a mouthpiece representing 100%. The fans? 100%.
And I think I put in my manifesto that what I want to achieve is actually not just my voice being heard on the Dons Trust board. I've had my say many years ago, and where we've got is in part due to some of the things that we came up with. But actually our fan base is so wide now, we need to listen to them and we need to actually ask them. And it's all well and good saying, come and talk to us. I actually think it needs to go the other way and we should be talking to them.
Sure, good one. But in your manifesto, the thing that stood out for me was your disappointment at how far the 80% discussion got. Now, if people aren't familiar with that, the idea put forward was that to be able to buy a season ticket, you would have needed to have attended 80% of matches over a certain period of time. I'm going to sneeze live on TV, excuse me.
No, you're not.
Or
No,
not.
extraordinary. I will in a minute. Excuse me, that happened on the news once. Kenneth Kendall, remember Kenneth Kendall? The BBC One newsreader sneezed and his tooth shot out. Live on TV, carried on with blood dripping out of his mouth. It's fantastic. I've not had that. So you were very disappointed that it even got as far as being discussed. So do you see that the role of the Don's Trust Board, in which you were kind of critical of the Don's Trust Board in that matter, that it shouldn't have got that far? They were the organisation that should have said, hang on a minute, that's not really fair. So do you see that's where you as a person, rather than the board, you as a person?
Yeah, so I've seen it from both sides. I've been chief steward here when we've sold out and had sold out games. I've seen people arrive who wanted to buy a ticket who couldn't, and I'm sitting there looking, going, well, we've got 100 seats spare. You know, it is a problem, and it's a problem that we needed to address. Yeah. It's a problem that Eric has had and mentioned in the programme numerous times, and I get why they want to solve that problem. My take is the football club board can come up with whatever crazy schemes they want, and actually they did in this instance. And actually, I think Joe's been a bit labelled unfairly that this is his one thing and it was his baby.
He just happened to be the person that said it.
I think he's just the man that was told to deliver it, and he delivered it how he thought was appropriate. But I thought it got to the Don's Trust Board, and at that point they just needed to cut it and just actually look at it, and a group of fans acting on behalf of the fans, looking, going, hold up, this seems quite a draconian measure to solve, you know, it's a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Yeah. And they could have just said, let's kill it now. Actually, can you go back and talk about it and actually come up with a different proposal, maybe an incentive, something else? The big thing for me in the whole debate was actually it just went straight through and it got put to the members, and then we got our letters. Yeah. And there was such an uprising at that point. In hindsight, you listen to a few Don's Trust Board members who got the papers the night before. Now, again, you think, well, the football club know we're going to be issuing letters and they need to go out to season ticket holders. You know, this happens every year. It's not a surprise that that happens. So why wait till the very night before for the Don's Trust Board to see that paper? And again, it all comes down to that little bit of planning and little bit of preparation, and I think something is lost at that point. But there is no doubt in my mind that the Don's Trust Board should have just kicked that back in the sand.
Sure. Okay, so we've got quite a long question here, but in your manifesto you've questioned the current board, obviously part of what the manifesto is for, and you state it really makes you question the purpose of being a fan-owned club when the fans are not consulted on the price of things such as tickets, merchandise or food, and when we have no say on the matchday experience, stewarding or allocation of tickets for big matches. So is that a realistic request for the football club board to consult the fans on all of those issues? Food and ticket selling, and should yes, we are fan-owned, but should the fans be asked everything? This is where we ended up with Brexit. The last people to ask a big question, or an important question, is the British public. So do you really need to ask football fans what they want from a football match? But how do you make that happen?
Yes, you do. 100% you do. You have to ask our people. And I don't think we know the answer, if I'm honest. We're, I could be wrong, but I think we're in the top 3 most expensive shirt prices in League One. And actually, that doesn't sit comfortably with me as a starting point. I have no clue how many shirts we sell. It could be 2,000, it could be 500, just don't know. But actually, for the sake of a couple of quid that could put somebody off buying it, is it really worth it to make that few extra £1,000? I think we need to understand the fans, and we're going back to Plough Lane, and Plough Lane is going to be the biggest chance we've got to get things right, and it's going to be a one shot. Yeah. If we don't get it right when we first move in, we're in a world of trouble, because I think it's going to be hard to reverse out from what we've started. So we've got all these fans. I genuinely don't know. Do I think the food's great? Not overly. Do I think the beer's a bit not very nice? Yes. But they're my opinions, and actually I think we need to ask because we need to get it right when we move.
Sure, okay. So you mentioned that the Don's Trust Board needs to be more diverse.
Yes.
So in your head then, what is the perfect Don's Trust Board makeup?
Quite clearly not all white middle-aged men, and I sadly fall into that category as well. I called it...
How much you try, you can't...
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I called it in the meeting. I went a bit crazy on Thursday night at the Don's Trust Board meeting, but I basically looked around and I said, look, this is just not representative of the fan base. Those 100 people that turn up to those meetings, fantastic, well done. It's a Thursday night, it's in Kingsmeadow, it's not a great place to come to, but it's not representative, and we need that representation. When I was on the board previously, I think I was early to mid-20s, probably makes me still one of the youngest Don's Trust board members there's ever been. I've certainly changed, I think, in terms of how I was and how I am now. Not as afraid to sort of state my opinions and get into discussions with people. So I think there comes a bit of experience and life experience that you get, which helps you to stand up more to people. So would I be happy to stand up to the football club board? Yes. You know, it's what it is. And I put also in the manifesto that I think we're afraid of challenge as a football club. And I think challenge is sometimes a good thing. It depends how it's done, obviously. But, you know, we can challenge the status quo, and we can look at things and go, this doesn't feel right, and it isn't right. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes it's a gut feeling. And my gut feeling is actually there's a lot of things at the moment that aren't right. And I think we can overcome that, but we certainly need to overcome that before Plough Lane.
So the big issue that I was discussing the other week, in fact, in another broadcast setting, was that nowhere criticising the current football club board, but those people have never run a football club that's had any kind of adversity before. From 2002 up to now, it's been pretty much great, isn't it?
Yeah. The
whole season of scoring 296 league goals, that's ridiculous. That's like 5 seasons worth now, isn't it? And then go through the whole season unbeaten and winning promotions and playoffs, and it's always been good. So a bad season was finishing 7th. But now we're in a position where the football on the pitch hasn't been as good as we'd like, and the stuff off the pitch is not quite right. So the football club board are experiencing negative reactions, probably for the first time en masse. So do you think was that where the Don's Trust board comes in and kind of provides a bit of counsel with an S?
Yes, direction, possibly, as well. If the Don's Trust board and the Don's Trust as a membership truly need to set the tone for the football club, they have to let the football club know how they're feeling. Yep. And that has to be the way in. So yes, I think there's a bit of that. I think Eric alluded to it. He doesn't think we've got it right. He thinks as a board, well, Mark Davis said as a board we've struggled. I think as a fan base, Eric said he thought we'd struggled. Mm-hmm. I'd argue we've been through worse, and that was 2002. Yeah. But as I said, there's a hell of a lot of people now that haven't been through that, who haven't experienced a relegation. You know, it's part and parcel of being a football club, sadly.
But then, again, as a Wimbledon fan, I've been going since 1977. We've only had 3 relegations at the time. That's not bad, is it, really?
No, we've done all right.
But again, you talk about how much you've changed. How much you've changed? You're still not a 27-year-old Bangladeshi woman, are you?
No.
You can't do that.
No, absolutely.
So the diversity issue is a difficult one. It's quite of a tricky one to cover, because it's the idea of discussing with friends of mine that I work in Africa occasionally. Token diversity is their issue. It's tough. If the right candidates come through, they're the right candidates, regardless of what they look like, where they're from, or whatever. Absolutely.
But the Don's Trust board have already tried to readdress the situation slightly. We've co-opted. We've co-opted onto the board. Somebody younger with a specific agenda to look at that. Yep. You know, there's no harm in that at all, and that's something that should be encouraged.
Cool. Okay, so we've got a question from a member of the Don's Trust.
Lovely.
It's Matt Cooper. How would you ensure that other cultural activities are integrated into the stadium and surrounding areas, such as film screenings, theatre productions, public art, and other sports, thereby linking with events at the Lawn Tennis Club?
There comes Matt, who obviously wants his play reshown at the new stadium. So yeah,
I'd like my band to play there.
Do you know what?
We're together.
Do you know what, Matt? When we first started this football club, we had a dream, didn't we? And that dream was to just be a real all-encompassing community club, a place where actually on a Thursday afternoon at 12 o'clock we serve tea to some of the older people that live around there who maybe don't get out and are quite lonely. You can do that, and it takes a bit of vision to do that, but you know, we don't just have to be a football club. And I think part of the problem at being in Kingsmeadow is we've almost just turned into a football club. Being in Wimbledon, having our own stadium with actually all the facilities, because this place is too small for the operation we're trying to run. Having our own facilities should enable us to do that. So yeah, I'm all in favour of doing all of those kind of community stuff. And actually it should be a 24-hour stadium, you know, or maybe not 24-hour, but it should be a 7-day-a-week stadium, certainly.
Because what I'd like to see is someone called Donald coming in with his own pie shop. We call it Don's Crust. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Depends where you put the apostrophe though, doesn't it?
No, let's not get personal. But yes, it does. Now, we have discussed this several times. Sorry, viewers, you may not be aware of why we're laughing, but yes. So that would have to be, if it's a person called Don, obviously Don apostrophe S crust. But if it's our club's pie shop, indeed. Don's apostrophe.
Don's Crust. I like
Excellent.
it.
So, Luke, thank you very much for those. We've now got questions. If Stuart can recover from that. Thank you for that. So Stuart has 3 questions, Stu.
I do. There's actually
hopefully, if it's Tony Shepherd, please call her Tony Shepherd.
There's actually some late ones coming. You've actually got quite. It seems that as soon as I go to me for the questions, they come up and they test me for reading on the spot. Okay, so let's have a look. Lawrence Lown. Lawrence, you're still awake. Well done.
Well done.
Should the Don's Trust board be creating working groups to find potential new board members to satisfy that desire for diversity 2 years ahead of the next elections?
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, actually, Lawrence, to be fair. It's not something I've thought about. I think there seems to be a fundamental problem with the working groups and the way it works at the moment is actually, I'm not sure who's on them, who they report to, the structure of them. There seems to be a lot of work going on around them, but I'm not sure that's ever fed back. One of the great comments the other day was one of the existing Don's Trust board members said he did 60 hours a week, and somebody said, well, you should spend 59 hours a week doing it and 1 hour telling us what you've done. And I think that's probably a valid point. So yeah, but what a good way to go. Why not? I think we need to look at the makeup of the Don's Trust board, how it's done, how the elections work, whether you look at term limits, etc. There's a lot of talking around this sort of stuff that goes on, I know, but it doesn't seem to be many changes yet.
Thank you.
Okay, so this question it's been retweeted by Piggies, which was from Adam Russell earlier, so obviously he liked the question. How could you see the Don's Trust board improving the matchday experience and getting new fans through the gates?
Let's ask first, what do people want? So what do our fans want coming to games? And that goes back to Kevin, the earlier point around, actually, yes, it is important regards to beer, food, etc. We're building a 9,500 stadium. I suspect in the first year that should be filled. He says, hand on heart, looking at other clubs and how they've gone when they've certainly ones that have moved more to their catchment area. Do we have a problem longer term? Possibly. And we need to be proactive. I'm a big fan of just getting out there and actually doing stuff, whether that's flyering, standing at Wimbledon station, handing out stuff, selling T-shirts at £2 a pop so that everybody can be, you know, we just need that visibility in Merton and certainly in Wimbledon.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. One final question, Lawrence again, but I do like this question. Only 4 of the 11 candidates are going to get elected. What happens to those 7 not elected, and how can their enthusiasm be retained?
Can I answer that? Would those 7 who don't get elected, could they not form the first of the working groups? There you go.
Potentially a good question.
Good shout. It's interesting, Lawrence, isn't it? What I always hate is people who, and where I feel sorry, is people who stand for election, don't get on, and then drop out. And actually what's been really nice is to see somebody like Cormac, who did stand, didn't get elected, and actually just kept building, I suppose, a network, for want of a better term, coming up with some different ideas, talking to a few people, and then got elected. So it would be nice to think those people would continue to be involved in the Don's Trust. And actually, the one thing this election's done has given a bit more vibrancy to the Don's Trust, because it's pretty stale, isn't it? I'm not sure the Don's Trust, as it currently is, engages with a large percentage of the fan base. I'm not sure it resonates with them. So let's have a bit of visibility and a bit of enjoyment of the trust, because we should be really proud of this football club. We should be really proud of this trust. And it shouldn't be something like, oh, what does the trust do? I'm not quite sure.
If you think about when the club was formed, when the trust was first formed, we were, about to go into the combined counties league, playing teams with all respect to Cove, Sandhurst, Merstham, and now we're disappointed that we only lost by 1 goal at home to Sunderland. It's the same club. It's extraordinary how far we've come.
Yeah, of course.
But it's the fans' expectation goes along with the quality of the team. And someone the other week, I think it was Mikey Telejoris, who said that the further we go up the pyramid, the more the sort of the outer skin of the uniqueness and the family club disappears, and the more of a normal football club comes through. So you're left with a normal football club like everybody else is.
Yeah, and that's happened, isn't it? And I saw it almost first hand from when we started being chief steward, because actually we ran this place on AFC Wimbledon volunteers and Kingstonian stewards, and over time that's departed, and we've gone away from that model, for good or for bad. And I think there's now three volunteer stewards, tops, and that's actually a real shame, because I think it's very difficult to get outside people, to certainly people who you just employ on a match day, to come in and feel the same ethos and sort of values that we feel as volunteers.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, so we now have the end bit. This is the fun bit.
I like this.
The rapid fire bit. So if you haven't watched before, the original Wimbledon Football Club was formed in November 1889, founded in 1889. It is November, of course, still. It's 129 years since that magnificent occasion where we formed our own football club, as Wimbledon Old Central, of course. So we have 89 seconds worth of questions for you. They're either or, mostly, but it's rapid fire, but not that rapid, because I've got to get 89 seconds in. Are you ready, Luke?
I'm ready.
Ready? Mark?
3, 2, 1, go.
Brown sauce or red sauce?
Ketchup all the way.
Strictly Come Dancing or X Factor?
The wife makes me watch Strictly Come Dancing, so I'll have to say that.
Okay. Motor racing or greyhound racing?
Motor racing.
Pie or panini? Now, are we talking about panini as in the food or the stickers?
It's all about panini stickers.
Yeah.
All about panini stickers.
Okay,
Mexico 86, but pie. Crust.
Yes.
Pie with the crust.
60 seconds.
I collected the Argentina 78. So I'm much older. £25 a year to be a Don's Trust member is too expensive, yes or no?
Both, I think, yes, it can be to some people.
Okay. Would you rather spend an hour listening to a crying baby or an hour listening to a dripping tap?
Crying baby.
Hanks or DiCaprio?
Hanks.
Live without TV or live without your phone?
TV.
Would you rather live without your knees or without your elbows?
Definitely elbows.
Should self-service checkouts be banned, yes or no?
Yes.
Is interpretive dance a lost art form, yes or no?
I was hoping this interview was going to have that, but obviously not.
15 seconds.
Stand on the train for 2 hours or sit next to someone who is snoring?
Snorer, and that's probably me.
Are the Spice Girls better with Victoria or better with her?
Without.
Without, okay.
Without.
Relegation, disaster or chance to rebuild?
Rebuild.
Making tea, bag first,
Oh, there we
milk
go.
first?
Neither.
Neither, you don't drink
Don't
tea.
drink tea.
But if you were making tea for somebody else, if you're making tea for Nick Draper, for example.
If I was making tea with Nick Draper just to wind him up,
Yeah.
I'd put the milk in first.
Okay, fine. So, Luke Mackenzie, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for standing.
Thanks,
you for
guys.
Watching, and good luck, basically.
No, and thank you to you, because I think this has been a long day for you. It's been 25 minutes for me, but it's been a very long day for you, so you've all done.
It's been fun.